This is the story of how I went from growing up homeless in New York City to then growing and ultimately selling a 7-figure online coaching business. Let's get into it.
Alright, if only Father Time had the patience of Mother Nature. If only I was wiser when I first discovered paper. If only Martin Luther never stayed at the Lorraine Hotel. Should he still be alive and well? Shout out my nigga Yo Gotti, that's my Memphis connect. He always put his niggas on, and so I give him respect. My right wrist Audemars, left wrist to protect.
All right, what's up everybody? Welcome to this video. My name is Sebastian Robeck, and in this video, which by the way, might be a long one, so just a quick heads up for you, I'm gonna go into great detail of exactly how I went from literally growing up most of my childhood homeless in New York City to then being able to grow and scale an online coaching business to 7 figures and then selling that coaching business last year in 2021. So grab a cup of coffee, take out a pen and paper, we're gonna go deep here. And my goal for this video for you is that you take away some learning lessons, and hopefully, even more so, this video inspires you to show you what is genuinely possible no matter where you come from, what your background is, what your past experiences are. It doesn't freaking matter. Now, by the way, guys, real quick, if you are new to the YouTube channel here, on this channel, I share everything that I personally love to talk about, which is things like marketing and business, entrepreneurship, my experiences with spirituality and inner work, my experiences traveling. I talk a bit about my relationship with my wonderful girlfriend and kind of the lessons I've learned in the whole dating and relationship world. This YouTube channel, honestly, is just my space to share and share and share with the hope of helping and giving value to you guys. So if any or all of the topics that I just mentioned you find interesting and would love to learn more or dive deeper into, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so that you don't miss out on all the new videos coming out on the channel very soon. And with that said, let's roll into the video. So let's just get right into it, guys. Now, in order for you to understand exactly how I was able to go from homeless, like literally most of my childhood, 80–90% of it, my mom, my sister, and I were homeless, and how I went from that in New York City to growing an online coaching business to multiple 7 figures, and then ultimately selling it this past year in 2021. So in order for me to do that and illustrate that to you, we kind of have to go rewind the clocks for a second. So again, guys, I'm gonna just get super vulnerable here. I'm just gonna share. I don't hold anything back in my videos, in my life. It's just kind of the way I roll. So guys, during my childhood, for again, 85 to maybe even like 95% of it, I was homeless. And so what does that actually mean though, right? Now, was I living on the street my entire childhood? No. Were there plenty of times where we did live on the street? Yes. So again, for context, my mom and my dad, ultimately they got divorced probably, I don't know, 15, 17 years ago, something like that. I can't remember exactly when. And you know, my dad was in and out of prison, alcoholic, gambler, drug addict, a lot of crime, just a lot of crap going on that side with him. A great human being, and I've been doing a lot of healing around my dad, but also there was a lot of shit that he did that put us in a really crappy position growing up. And then my mom just had a tough time as well. She ended up losing her job. She worked in sales for a while. And then just, you lose your job and then one thing after the next, her health kind of started to go a bit down the drain. And then when your physical health goes, your mental health can easily follow suit. And that's kind of what happened. Again, without getting into too much detail for their sake. And honestly, guys, after my mom lost her job, that's kind of when this snowball started of us being homeless. So, you know, I remember having a conversation with my sister where we literally counted how many homeless shelters we've been in. And guys, I think it's, I don't know, 15, 16, something like that. You know, guys, we were in domestic violence shelters with my mom and my sister, all throughout New York State. And then ultimately, and this is kind of crazy the way it happened, but we were in a domestic violence shelter upstate New York. I can't remember exactly the town name, but I literally was able to find my mom's phone and call one of my family members. I think it was my cousin or my grandma or something. And I was able to tell them where we were. And a big rule, at least with this domestic violence shelter, was no one's allowed to know where you are, which to be fair, for safety reasons makes sense, right? And I kind of broke the #1 rule because I wanted to get the hell out of there. I just was like, we need to go. And I was like maybe 6 or 7 at the time. My sister was 4 or 5, excuse me. And so anyways, we leave that shelter and then we come to New York City, and this is where the fun starts. This is where shit just gets fucking crazy. So, you know, we go to this first homeless shelter. can't remember exactly what the name was. To be honest, guys, the names are super fuzzy. I think this one was like formerly a hotel. I think it was called the France. It's like on 101st Street and Broadway, I believe, or between Broadway and Amsterdam. For anyone that lives in New York City, you guys know where I'm talking about. And it was a hotel that was either still is a mix of a hotel and a homeless shelter, or it got completely converted. I can't remember, to be honest. I lived there for maybe like 10 days. And then the Department of Homeless Services, DHS in New York City, they literally like just evicted us for no reason. They were just like, you can't be here anymore. And so that was a pretty crappy experience because like they literally just forcibly took all our stuff from our room, which by the way is like a small room with like a hot plate and a bunk bed, and that was it. Just threw it all into the lobby. So I ended up losing a bunch of clothes, toys, which at the time when I was like 7, 8 years old, toys are fucking important. Like you want your toys, you're a kid, you know what I mean? So we ended up losing those. We just like lost a lot of stuff. And then from that place, we ended up going to this place in the South Bronx of New York called PATH, P-A-T-H. And essentially what PATH is like kind of a pit stop for people that are homeless and have nowhere to stay. And what they do is they then help you find a homeless shelter for you to go to. And I remember we actually stayed overnight one night in PATH, and it was a really shitty experience, to be honest. And then from there, they ended up kind of just throwing us into a white van and saying, you're going to XYZ place. Then we took that white van to a place called Life, which was a shelter that we were there for probably, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Again, guys, timelines are kind of fuzzy because there were so many places. So like, I just kind of lose track. And then from that place, we got thrown out of there. Again, kind of the story of what the hell's going on here all the time, just getting thrown out from place to place to place. But guys, by the way, I'm kind of skipping over for the sake of time in this video. I'm skipping over like the, countless friends' couches that we slept on and the countless like random one-off homeless shelters that we were in for 2-3 nights. Like I'm just kind of skipping over those. Again, fast forward a little bit. We ended up going to a place in West Harlem, specifically on 113th Street and Manhattan Avenue, or between Manhattan and Frederick Douglass. So again, guys, my fellow New Yorkers, y'all know what I'm talking about. And to be honest, guys, like living there in Harlem was an interesting experience because 95-98% of the people, by the way, this isn't racist, this is just a true fact. And if you're from Harlem, you know this is a true fact. At least maybe not so much now, but 8-10 years ago, this was definitely the case. Most people living in Harlem are African-American. And if you're a white person and a young white dude, male and female living in Harlem, you kind of stand out. Is it racist? No, it's just literally just the truth. Like, if you got 1,000 elephants and one horse, the horse is gonna stand out, you know what I mean? So that experience though, living there for about 5 or 6 years in the homeless shelter we were in really shaped me in a lot of ways. I ended up falling in love with basketball, which is still today like probably my favorite thing to do that isn't work related, has no money motive. I just love to do it. Like just genuinely love to play basketball. And I kind of got really good. I ended up becoming kind of known for basketball in the neighborhood. By the way, guys, I'm just gonna randomly interject this in case anyone is like skeptical. You're like, I don't know if I believe all this. This is like a pretty elaborate story, bro, which all good. I get it. Like people on the internet can say whatever the hell they want and get away with it. I'm actually gonna just drop a screenshot here on the screen that you'll see or not two rather, but it's a screenshot showing a news piece or actually it was a video interview from a news station called Fox 5 News. This is back in probably 2015, 2016. They basically interviewed me to tell my story on there. And there's even an older piece of media from the New York Times. It's an article from about 3 or 4 years before that. Again, just detailing our story growing up homeless. So again, if y'all don't believe me, all good, it's okay. I'd probably be skeptical too, but just some proof for you guys. And I'll link those down below in the channel as well, just for, kicks. So anyways, went from Harlem to then the next place, which was living in East Harlem. So in East Harlem, that's kind of where things started to pick up a bit. So I was still going to school at the time. I was in high school. And guys, I ended up having this moment where I realized I don't want to do things the normal way. For a while in high school, I was kind of like the good student. I like did all my homework, took all the tests. Like I did pretty well. I wasn't like an A+++ student, but I was pretty good in school, right? But then I ended up becoming kind of a rebel. And I was like, fuck the system. Like I started reading more spirituality books and kind of just like questioning life. Like what is this thing that we call life, right? And I still to this day am very, very curious about that. Probably make more videos on that stuff in the future. But anyways, I read The Power of Now, which is probably the most life-changing book I've ever read to this day. Still, genuinely, I think it's the book that's had the biggest impact on me ever. Again, it's called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Some people pronounce his last name different. When I read that book, guys, I was about 16, 17 years old, and I remember reading it, just having these like, whoa moments. Like my brain was exploding. And I'll probably make like another video on like reviewing the book and detailing that and all that good stuff. But anyways, I started to just like question things. And so that also showed up in me questioning like the school system and college. And so, you know, guys, I ended up actually getting a full scholarship to a private university in Washington, DC called American University. It's a school that's mostly really known for like its political teachings. You know, people go there to learn international law, international affairs, political science, international relations, et cetera, history. Like that's kind of like their bread and butter. And that's where I was going there for as well. So I ended up getting a full scholarship there, and, you know, guys, growing up homeless, and getting a full scholarship to university, to my mom, to my sister, to the rest of my family, like that was, oh my goodness, like that was my golden ticket out, if you will, right? Like that was basically like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like my golden ticket was friggin' the scholarship to private university. But the problem was, or not the problem, but the reality was that I didn't want to go. Like I got this full scholarship, like $65,000 scholarship. And I was like, I'm not going. And my mom just lost her mind. It was a very interesting time. So anyways, I haven't gone to college yet at this point. This is 2016. And then I do go. I end up going. This is late August, early September 2016. And I literally go, guys. I get on the campus and we're driving up from New York with all my stuff to Washington, DC. And I remember thinking, yeah, it's just not happening. I don't see myself being here for longer than a week. 4 days in, I literally grab as much stuff from my room as I could. I get on the next bus back to New York. And that was so I get back probably about September 2016. And my mom, of course, like freaks the hell out, which again, like to be fair, you know, to her, I can understand it, and in hindsight, I get it, right? It's like, she didn't want me to be like my dad, and like in her mind, if I didn't go to school, what the hell else was I gonna do? And she didn't know anything about, you know, nor did I, about online business and any of this stuff, right? So to her, she's like, you're gonna be a freaking bum on the street, blah, blah, blah. And you know, guys, there was probably about 4 or 5 months after that where her and I got into it a lot, and a lot of arguing and screaming and verbal kind of back and forth, and me just being like, well, I'm gonna figure this shit out. And she's like, well, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. And just a lot of that, right? Is what it is. Nothing moms are gonna be moms. So it's all good. Fast forward a bit. Oh, by the way, guys, let's backtrack a second. So just for context, so y'all understand like the journey a little bit. At this time, for money, I was working, I got like the most random part-time jobs. I ended up becoming like I don't even remember, working at like a car dealership doing like, I think I was just like a cleaning boy or something like that. I was like 18 at the time. And then I ended up doing extra work. So working as a background actor on TV shows and movies. And at the time, I actually wanted to pursue acting. This was back in 2016. I was like, I'm gonna be the next like Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever, right? And I was like all hype about it. I was watching all those movies and I was going to auditions and blah, 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 blah. And I was genuinely pursuing it. And actually I ended up getting a manager. Like I got kind of signed to a management company. But then I decided I don't want to do this acting thing anymore. So that kind of went to the wayside. Then I got my first real sales job. So this is 2017. This is where things start to move a little bit. I get my first real job, like working 40 hours a week. You know, at the time I was making like $2 grand, $2,500 a month, which for an 18-year-old living at home with mom, no rent, just pay my phone bill, that's not bad. You know, at the time, like, cool, I'll take it. And it was sales. So I was getting to learn a skill as well while making some money. And that experience, guys, was honestly like fantastic. In hindsight, you know, one of the best experiences that could ever happen for a few reasons. Number one, I learned sales. Like I got really, really good at sales. I ended up, I think, you know, like month one, I ended up becoming the top salesperson. And, you know, I like destroyed the rest of the sales team, that was kind of cool. And that was fun. And I made some money, blah, blah, blah. And again, I learned a ton about communication, and I had a really cool mentor who just taught me a little nuances about communication and how to speak to people in a way that like compels them, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't necessarily agree with all the stuff I learned, but again, it was really, really helpful. Now, the other big reason why this job was so pivotal as an experience for me was because it also ultimately ended up serving as massive amounts of motivation for me to want to leave that job and for me to want to figure out how to do something on my own. So probably around August, September time of 2017, I go down the freaking rabbit hole. Y'all have probably been there. I start hitting YouTube. I'm like, how do I make money online? How to make money online with this. So I go down the affiliate marketing rabbit hole, the SEO, the drop shipping, the e-commerce, Shopify stores, building niche websites, you name it. I literally have probably tried it. Everything under the sun. I was like, I just got to figure out how to make, 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month with my own business so that I can get the hell out of this job, because I started to hate it. I was like, I cannot be showing up to this office. Now, fast forward a couple of months to November 2017, this is where everything started to change for me. So I'm sitting in the office making cold calls to to prospects, trying to sell gym memberships over the phone and whatnot, or sell an appointment to then get them into the gym and sell a membership, blah, blah, blah. And I go on my phone and I go on Facebook or it might have been, no, I think it was Facebook or YouTube, I can't remember. And I see an ad from someone a lot of you guys might know. His name's Ty Lopez. He's probably one of the biggest internet marketing gurus, teachers, whatever, out there. And I see an ad from him that says, not verbatim, but basically, hey, you can make $1,000 to $10,000 a month selling social media marketing services to local businesses. And I don't know what the hell happened or what it was, what clicked in my brain, but something about that just went, yeah, that's it. It was like I already knew, like in my gut, but whatever it was about seeing that ad, it just like turned it on, it like activated it. And now I was aware of it and I was like, this is it. Again, don't know if that's actually what happened, but that's what it felt like, right? It's like I already knew that this was the thing I was gonna stumble upon. I was just waiting for the right time, right? And so by chance, by life, just kind of with the flow of just the way things happen, I ended up coming across this ad and I was instantly hooked. Literally instantly hooked. So I start going down the rabbit hole, but not just of how to make money, but how to do this social media marketing agency thing, right? And again, guys, for context, you can look back here on my YouTube channel. I start making my first YouTube videos back in December 2017. You can go and watch like my first 2-3 YouTube videos, which by the way, freaking terrible. Those YouTube videos were like a month after I started diving into this whole social media marketing agency thing. So guys, my next steps were I literally just started cold calling people in the back office, still while working this full-time sales job at the gym. I'm cold calling people in the back office, and guys, I'm just hustling at this point. Like I'm winging it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm calling people, restaurants, chiropractors, real estate agents. I'm just going, hey, I could do your marketing. Hey, I could help you get more customers. Who do I have to talk to? Blah, 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 blah. And then guys, within like a week or two, I ended up getting my first couple clients, paying me like $300 a month. It was so funny, so ridiculous, like in hindsight, but it's the journey, everyone's got to start somewhere. And again, I was just winging it. I was just winging it the entire time. And then over time, over the next, 6, 8, 10 months or so, which were insanely difficult because I was essentially a startup marketing agency trying to compete with all the big agencies in New York City and all over the country, really. But anyways, I ended up kind of getting the hang of it. Like I started learning how to sell better and how to, talk to clients and how to actually like charge for my services and how to provide a better service and work with contractors and partner up with people. And I just kind of started learning the ins and outs of the game, mostly just through trial and error, to be honest. And it was a lot of trial and error. So, I typically recommend to people hire a mentor so you can at least skip some of that trial and error, right? But at the time I was just like, I'm just gonna figure this shit out on my own because I'm a motherfucking whatever. I wasn't talking like that, but whatever, right? So I end up growing it to like 10, 15K a month, and I finally like leave my gym job, and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm out of here. And then I start documenting my journey on YouTube. And again, guys, you can look back on the channel here and you can see all the videos from back in 2017, 2018. I kind of just start sharing because I realized just how powerful this business model was to then be able to, like, it literally allowed me to leave my job. Like it changed my life, this whole social media marketing agency thing. So I started sharing it with other people, just genuinely just like giving free value away, helping people, jumping on free calls, posting in different Facebook groups. Yo, here's how I just closed this client. Here's how I'm doing this. Here's how I'm doing that. Make sure you do this, avoid these mistakes, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a course. I wasn't selling any educational thing. I wasn't selling any coaching program, consulting, etc. I wasn't doing any of that. I was just running my agency, doing 6 figures a year, 10, 15, 20K a month. Whoops, sorry. Just kicked the camera a little bit. And then I just started helping people like for free. And then I was jumping on free calls with people. And then ultimately over time, people were like, dude, do you, what's your price for coaching? Do you have a course, etc., etc. So I was like, no, I don't even know Like, what is a course? I never intended on creating a course or any sort of info product, if that makes sense. It was never my intention. I just wanted to run an agency. That's all I wanted to do, right? And help some people on the side if I can for free. So then I start charging like $50 an hour for calls and et cetera, and then I actually end up putting out a course because people just kept asking me like, hey dude, that course, like, can you just put it out? And so I ended up making a course on like, at the time it was called like LinkedIn Mastery Accelerator or something like that. And I think it was all about like how to get clients for your marketing agency using LinkedIn. That was kind of like my bread and butter. It was like my secret sauce at the time, which by the way still works really well today. But anyways, that's beside the point. So I put that out. It's like put it out for like $97, and 10, 20 people buy it, and I work with those people one-on-one, and I help them get great results. And what really snowballed this thing, guys, was like I was actually genuinely helping people get real results. Like I wasn't just selling some info and bullshitting people. Like I was working with people closely and really helping them. Like they were implementing what I was teaching them and going out and getting real results, like actually having meetings with business owners and then like closing them and actually taking payment, like getting paid via PayPal, like for marketing services. And then I taught them how to go and like fulfill the services in a way that like made sense. And then they were getting their clients results and they wanted to keep paying. It was like, shit, I was actually helping people build like this real marketing business where they were getting paid every single month by 2, 3, 4 clients, paying them $2,000, $2,500 a month. And it was awesome. And then I ended up meeting, so this is a whole next chapter of the story, how I met my business partner. So my old former business partner, who I'm also working with now in the new company that I'm working with, which by the way, again, whole nother story here. But anyways, I meet my business partner who at the time was a student of mine. He approached me and he said, hey dude, like, do you offer private coaching, one-on-one kind of thing? And I was like, yeah, man, we can start working together. So his name is Brian Ostermiller. And at the time we started working together one-on-one. And I think I was charging him like $500 a month or something like that. And then I started to realize like, shit, he's really good. Like because Brian was getting really good, really fast with what I was teaching him. And he kind of already had a lot of natural talents and abilities. He was actually selling marketing services for Pinterest at the time. So it was like a perfect fit for him to kind of go off and do his own agency thing. And then I asked him one day something like, hey, do you mind like helping me out with the clients in my course, like, or students in my course, like help me help them a bit better, if you will. So he helped me help them, and then he was helping people in my course, and I was like, well, shit, like, dude, you're doing really well. And then it was just like this kind of stumble upon thing where it's like, hey man, do you want to like partner on this business? Like, do you want to just like work together on this coaching thing together, maybe, and see like what we can make of it? Like, because we were helping a lot of people. We were helping people have real impact in their lives. We're like, dude, you want to just like see how many more people we could help do the same thing? Like that was genuinely just the place that it came from, right? And then, October 2018, this is where things started to shift big time. So end of October 2018, we end up hiring our first real mentor. So we ended up becoming a client of Traffic and Funnels, which some of you guys may or may not know who they are. They're one of the bigger kind of internet marketing companies online. You can look them up. Again, Traffic and Funnels. We ended up becoming a client of theirs. We paid $12,000 to essentially be mentored by them. And at the time, for me, Brian and I split it. At the time, I had like $8,000 in my bank account. And so, I paid $6,000 for this mentor thing, and Brian paid the other $6,000, and it was like, we gotta fucking make this work. Like, if we don't, this is gonna be tough. You know what I mean? Like, we just didn't have a ton of cash in our bank accounts. And we ended up paying the $12,000, and then the month after, we end up and we were probably stuck at like 10 to 15K in our business at the time. And then a month, by the way. And then month 1, after jumping into this mentorship program called Client Kit with Traffic and Funnels, we end up shooting up to like $32,000, right? So we hit like 32K in the month of November, I believe. And then guys, this whole coaching thing, which we ended up calling the business Agency Hypergrowth, and it was dedicated to helping people start or grow an existing local marketing agency, right, to 10, 15K a month. This freaking thing just became a beast and took on a life of its own, kind of without us even trying. It was just this thing just started to form, right? And then we started helping people and helping people and helping people. And we were making decent money with it, to be honest. Like it was a good business. Like we knew what we were doing. We weren't selling bullshit. We were genuinely helping people change their lives. And so we were like, well, let's see how much bigger we can take this thing. Like we're helping people, so let's see what we can do with it, right? And then we end up hitting like $40,000 in December, like 50K in January 2019. slowly creeping up. February we do like 60, 65, March we do like 70, and you kind of get the idea here, right? And then by June, I think we ended up hitting our first $100,000 month. So we literally collected $100,000 in a single 30-day time frame, which, you know, at the time for us was like, what the fuck? What? Like, guys, not, you know, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was still homeless. You know what I mean? Like I was living in East Harlem in you know, in the freaking projects, dealing with gunshots and all this kind of crazy shit. You know what I mean? Like making sure I don't get stabbed at night walking down the street. All of a sudden, we just collected like a lawyer's salary in a month. Like, what the hell is, you know what I mean? And by the way, guys, I'm probably gonna end up putting out a video about, you know, lessons learned from growing that business. So if you check this description, or if you check the description rather, you should see a link to another video that kind of details more of the actual learning lessons from within that business, because I don't have time to really go into that now in this video. Anyways, we grew that to 7 figures, and we ended up in our first full year in business, we collected like 1.2 million. So about $1,200,000 in cash, which again, guys, at the time I was 21, Brian was 22, and we're like, how did we just do that? Like it was insane. You know, we learned how to run ads, we learned how to sell and get clients and fulfill and blah, 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 and all these different things. And it was just like, boom, turn around, end of 2019, you know, we ended up collecting $1.2 million in cash, and I was able to move out from home and go and get my own apartment. I ended up living in Jersey City, and then I moved back to Harlem for, you know, the last quarter of 2019. I ended up buying like my dream car at the time, which was a 2019 C63 AMG, which still to this day I think is a fucking amazing car. I think AMG makes some beast cars, right? And I'll probably make another video on like my experience with that and why I did it and lessons learned from getting that car and all that good stuff. But anyways, I bought my dream car. I was able to help my family out of town. Like my life changed like big time, especially from where I came from. And so what also came with that, which is something else I'm going to talk about on this channel here, is the personal growth I had to go through, and like the identity shifts and the identity upgrades I had to go through. And I had to really go through a lot of personal growth and shine a light on, you know, trauma from my childhood and limiting beliefs and stories that I was telling myself about the way that life is, that I then realized were stories that were holding me back because they were keeping me safe, and all this different stuff, right? Like I had to go through doing a lot of that work, which I'm still doing today. And so again, I'm gonna be sharing a lot of that here on the channel, but I want you guys to understand where this comes from. So by end of 2019, we now have a 7-figure business. 2020, we end up doing roughly the same amount of revenue. We do about $1.1 million, $1.2 million by the end of the year. Now, something else that's really important here is the entire story of how I ended up in London and ended up meeting my girlfriend, who I am still with now today. And I ended up going out there in September of 2020. So check the description, guys, because I'm gonna make another video on that entire thing as well, because that's like a whole nother part of this story, right? But anyways, we'll probably do the video joint together, like her and I, get her in the video. But anyways, end of 2020, we do, you know, we host a live event back in October or November of 2020 out in Park City, Utah. We had like 12, 13 of our private clients come out there. I'll drop a little clip up here above real quick. And yeah, it was a pretty decent year. You know, we had a lot of setbacks, a lot of problems, like COVID hit, all that stuff, right? But it was still a really good year, full of learning lessons all around. Now, here's where things start to change a little bit. So end of 2020, December, my business partner at the time, Brian, who I've talked about, he basically called me one day, maybe third week of December, was like, hey man, you know, I got an offer to go and be a salesperson and sell for Cole Gordon, who's also one of the biggest players in the online marketing space at the moment as well. And I think I'm gonna go take it. And I actually realized I don't wanna be an entrepreneur. I don't wanna run a business anymore. And so I'm out. And you know, in hindsight, guys, when we had that convo, I was a little bit like, what the fuck, dude? Like we built this thing together, like you're bailing on me, blah, 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 blah. But over time, I've now realized, guys, that I totally get it. I totally get where Brian was at the time. Like I really, really understand it. And I understand it even more because of what I ended up going through this past summer, which I'll tell you about in a second, which is a very similar experience. And you know, Brian basically told me like, dude, I just don't want to run the business anymore. I don't want to run a business. I don't want the weight and the pressure on my shoulders of running a business. So I was like, all right, dude, I get it. So come January 2021 of last year, New Year comes around, I'm running the business on my own, which is a big shift for me because I was used to running it with a business partner. Because with a business partner, you know, you have you can divvy up responsibilities, you can kind of take the load, and both people can carry it versus just one, right? And so now I was carrying all the load, all the pressure, all the weight, responsibility, etc. on my own. And I was managing our sales team of 5 or 6 people. We had a client success team of 2 to 3 coaches, a couple virtual assistants. Like I suddenly just had all this responsibility on my plate, But at the time I was like, all good, let's rock and roll, baby. Like, guys, I love pressure. That was honestly one of the things I loved about playing basketball. Was some of my favorite moments playing basketball were when, we were playing outside and there's a bunch of people at the park watching, and my team is down 2, and it's it's game point. It's like 15 to 14, and game is 16 is how they usually play it out in New York. And I hit the game winning 2 from the corner, hit a spot up 3 or whatever, like when the pressure's on and then the crowd goes crazy. Like, that's some of my favorite moments. I just love that stuff. So I was like, all right, pressure, baby, all good, I got it. Took the weight on my back, let's go. So I was running the business on my own, guys, and we were still doing well. We were still at basically a 7-figure run rate. We were still holding steady at about 80 to 85K a month. So now fast forward a little bit. So around April, May time of 2021, this past year, at the time, my girlfriend and I were doing a lot of traveling. We ended up leaving. We were in London at the time. We left London to go to Mexico to kind of get out of the cold, quite frankly, and also get out of quarantine because we were on complete lockdown in the UK at the time. So we're like, well, let's just go to Mexico and get the hell out of here. So we did that. And so we were moving around a bunch while I was also trying to grow the business, which again, I'll make some videos on that and like how to manage traveling and business and all that stuff and my personal experiences with that. But anyways, around April, May time, I kind of start hitting this wall. I start hitting this wall of burnout. I was managing and doing so much in the business. I was working a fuck ton, probably more than I ever worked previously in the business, to be honest. And at the time, guys, in hindsight, I didn't have the awareness and the mental space and the internal space to take a step back and actually look at the business from an objective view. I was so in it, I couldn't step out and look at it. I couldn't work on it. I was so busy working in the business that I couldn't take a step back, right? And so because of that, I never had any room to breathe. I never created any room for myself to breathe, rather. And so I was never able to make any real strategic moves and hire the right people and delegate stuff off my plate and rework things that needed reworking and kind of started rethink things a little bit. I never really took the space or created the space to do that. And so I started hitting this burnout wall. And again, guys, one thing to keep in mind is this was my first like real business. I haven't been in the business game for 10, 20 plus years like other people have. I'm not saying that you need to be, just that, I still had so much to learn is my biggest point. And I still have so much to learn. But I just hadn't mastered the game yet. You know what I mean? Just quite frankly, like there were just things I didn't understand. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. There were things I couldn't see. And so at the time, I just kind of started letting things slip a little bit. Again, guys, I'm just being straight up honest and transparent with y'all here. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I started just kind of mess up a bit. I mismanaged finances. I wasn't tracking things clearly enough. I wasn't paying attention to the right things. I wasn't managing team in the best way. I honestly wasn't showing up as the best leader that I knew I could have been. There were just a lot of things that I just didn't know. And, I've had to kind of process this a bit, and I'm not saying this stuff to make myself wrong or make it out like I fucked up or I'm bad. It's just that just being really honest and facing it. It was like at the time, there were just stuff I didn't know, and that's okay, right? I've had to kind of work through it as well, like I said. So I started hitting this wall, this burnout. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do with this business. And the business started to not work as well because I didn't take the space to really look at it. And so then this vicious cycle began around April, May, where because the business started not working as well, I then kind of started to fall out of love with the business. Partially because it wasn't working, also partially because I genuinely just started to fall out of love with it. I didn't have the same passion and excitement for the business that I had when I first started it back in 2018. And I couldn't really control that. Like, it is what it is. I just fell out of love with the business, and then the cycle perpetuated of I fell out of love with the business. Then it started not doing well. And then because it started not doing well, I fell even more out of love with it. And because of that, it then started doing even worse and worse. And cycle continues, right? You guys get the point. And so it ended up ultimately getting to the point, guys, where I was like, wow, it's ready. Or I'm ready rather for a new chapter. I started getting this gut feeling, guys, this gut pull that was like, it's time for me to do something new. And I had no idea what that was going to be. I had no idea what it was going to look like, to be honest. Like, you know, what am I going to do if I'm not running a business, right? At the time, I was like, how am I, what? My brain just didn't compute it, because for the last 3-ish years, I'd been running my own business and supporting myself. Like, what am I going to, I don't get it. What am I going to do instead, right? And so I ended up selling the business, and you guys are probably wondering, what did you sell the business for? So again, I'm all about transparency with you guys. I hold nothing back. So because the business itself started to just honestly, again, not perform as well, revenue started to dip. I didn't manage the business nearly as effectively as I could have, and as I know I could now with all the learning lessons I've gained over the past 6-7 months. I ended up selling the business to a good buddy of mine for about 35 grand. So again, at the time, I just want to get rid of it. Like, I just want to get this off my plate, dude. I don't want this business anymore. I just don't want it. I'm done with it. So I sold it for $35,000 in cash. Well, not cash, obviously, but like a wire transfer, right? Now, for kind of confidentiality's sake, I'll just keep the good friend of mine who I sold it to confidential, but we didn't sign any major business agreements or bring lawyers involved or valuations or anything like that. I was just like, dude, here are the assets. If with the right team in place, anyone can make a killing with this stuff. You do your thing. Here's what I want for it. That was it. It was super simple, super laid back. I think the whole process literally took like 4 or 5 days. That was it. I ended up selling the business, and then I had this moment of like, what do I do next, right? So you guys are probably wondering, what the hell did I end up doing after I sold this business? This baby that this was my baby. I freaking built this thing from the ground up. It was everything to me, right? Like, it was my life really for like 3 years. What did I end up doing after? So guys, if you check the description of this video, I made a kind of part 2 follow-up video to this one where I detail what I did next, and more specifically, why I made the choices that I made, the realizations that I had to come to, the difficult beliefs I had to work through to make the decisions that I did end up making back in August, September of 2021, not that long ago at the time of recording this video. And also, you're gonna learn what I'm doing now and what my life looks like now, and what I'm working on, what I'm putting my energy into, et cetera, et cetera. So, guys, that is the story of how I went from homeless, growing up homeless in New York City, to managing to grow a online coaching business to multi-7 figures, and then selling that business this past year in 2021. So guys, I hope you found this video either helpful or inspiring or a mix of both. If you didn't, that's okay too. Now, again, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button on this video if you did find it helpful, and more importantly, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on post notifications. Guys, I'm in kind of a content creation season at the moment, so you can definitely expect to see a lot more videos, again, about things like marketing. If you're a business owner, I'm going to be creating a lot of content that's going to be super helpful for you, like how to make your marketing and advertising more profitable, how to scale your advertising, how to get better copywriting, how to create better offers, how to better maximize your existing customer list, all that kind of fun stuff on the business owner side. I'm also going to be talking about my experiences again with internal work and spirituality, and my experiences over the last year or so with travel and relationships, and my amazing girlfriend and what that's been like, and just kind of share my life with you guys a bit. So look forward to that. And guys, with that said, thank you for tuning into this video. I love you, and I will see y'all soon. Peace and love.